B&B spoilers. Logan women war erupts. The Logan women have been riding high for a while now on the bold and the beautiful. It wasn't long ago that Steffi Forrester was outnumbered by the Logans or calling in reinforcements. Sadly, we've seen the last of those days for a while. Going into the new year, the Logan women will all be at war with each other on the bold and the beautiful. Brooke, Katie, Hope, and Donna will have a lot to fight over in the next few months. Keep reading for all new B&B spoilers and updates. Katie blames Brooke. The bold and the beautiful spoilers say Katie Logan, Heather Tom, is hurt that her sister let them replace her at Forrester Creations. Shouldn't your sister being married to Ridge Forrester, Torsten K., give you some sort of job security? Meanwhile, this week on the soap it will be revealed that Eric Forrester, John McCook, has some new health concerns. Eric Forrester and Brooke Logan, Catherine Kelly Lang, have always had a complicated relationship. Brooke's romantic past with her father-in-law makes their connection extra creepy. The last time Eric was on his deathbed, he shared an emotional moment with Brooke, and it was clear he was still in love with her. B&B spoilers hint those old feelings could come to the surface again and create some serious tension between Brooke and her sister, Donna Logan, Jennifer Garais. Nobody wants to sit at their husband's deathbed and listen to him profess his love for your sister. Hope and Brooke clash too? Hope Logan, Annika Noel, and her mother have a complicated relationship. Hope always chooses her career and is determined to give Hope for the future the comeback it deserves. If Brooke's hubby's antics at the office when Eric is sick affect her company, she will turn on her mom in the blink of an eye. The crystal chandelier above the Forrester Creations boardroom table had never seen such a brutal light. Usually, the space glowed with the warm amber of success and familial unity, but today it was arctic. The air was thick enough to cut with one of the precision shears used in the design studio, charged with the pure, volatile essence of Logan ambition. Brooke Logan Forrester sat at the head of the table, her hands resting possessively on a stack of fabrics for the new line, a line she had always considered hers to lead. Next to her, Ridge, her eternal destiny, ran a weary hand through his hair, his brow furrowed with the kind of stress that only true love and high-stakes corporate warfare could induce. Opposite them, the battle lines were drawn. Katie Logan Spencer, usually the soft voice of reason, held her posture with a new, unsettling steel. Beside her, Donna Logan, the ever-sunny bearer of honey, was rigid, her smile nowhere to be found. The fourth corner was occupied by Hope Logan, her face a mask of disbelief, caught between the gravity of her mother's fury and the quiet resolution of her aunt's. The war had not been declared with a shout, but with a piece of paper, a codicil to Eric Forrester's estate, executed quietly 6 months prior, during a brief, medically induced absence Brooke had taken to clear her head in Aspen. Eric, in his infinite and often frustrating wisdom, had decided to ensure the future of Forrester Creations remained within the family, but not necessarily in the hands of those who always expected it. The codicil, confirmed by an unflappable lawyer moments before, designated Donna Logan as the majority voting shareholder of a newly formed trust, granting her ultimate corporate control over Forrester Creations, effective immediately. The silence that followed the lawyer's departure was broken by Brooke's low, dangerous growl. "This is an insult," Brooke said, her voice shaking but hardening with every syllable. She pushed away from the table, rising to her full, formidable height. "It's a slap in the face to me, to Ridge, to the legacy we built. Donna, darling, you can't possibly think you're going to run Forrester Creations. You are a spokesperson. You are the honey bear. You don't know a profit margin from a pantyhose." Donna, surprisingly, did not shrink. She met Brooke's blue-green eyes with a clarity Brooke hadn't seen since their teenage years. "I know what Eric wanted, Brooke. He didn't want the drama. He didn't want the endless back and forth between you and Taylor, or the constant threat of a takeover. He wanted stability, and he trusted me to be the neutral party. I am the neutral party, who now holds the ultimate power." Katie leaned forward, her eyes blazing with an energy Brooke usually reserved for her most dramatic monologues. She's right, Brooke. For once, it's not about who married Ridge this week. It's about the company. And for years, you and Ridge have treated this company like your personal playground. Donna is stable. She's loyal. And unlike you, she hasn't alienated half the staff with her intensity. The use of the word intensity was a verbal dagger, and Brooke staggered back a half step. Alienated. Brooke scoffed, turning to Ridge, appealing for the validation that had always been her armor. Ridge, tell them this is madness. Tell them this entire thing is a mistake. Eric was compromised. He must have been. Ridge ran a hand down his face. Brooke, I can't. The lawyer was very clear. Eric was of sound mind, and the documentation is ironclad. Donna, I appreciate your commitment, but this is complicated. You and I need to lead this company together. Donna's eyes softened momentarily for her honey bear, but her resolve remained. I will take your advice, Ridge, but I will not take orders. And I will not tolerate this hostility, Brooke. This war, it's yours, not mine. But if you fire a shot, I promise you I will fire back. The first shot was a cold, calculated strike. Brooke, unable to move against Donna legally, began her campaign of social annihilation. She organized a closed-door meeting with the key designers and department heads, positioning Donna as an incompetent threat who would soon dismantle the high-fashion legacy. Donna is lovely, of course, Brooke purred to the executive team, sipping a non-fat latte that tasted like victory. But she's a figurehead. She'll sink us. We need to be proactive. We need to show the market that the real creative power, the Brooke Logan power, is still running this place. She needs to be pressured out before she makes a fatal mistake. Word of the meeting reached Katie within the hour, relayed by a sympathetic, slightly terrified employee. The betrayal was immediate and sharp. Katie had tolerated years of being Brooke's less glamorous sister, her less successful sister, the one who wasn't Ridge's destiny. But to try and dismantle Donna, the one Logan who had always been pure heart, was too much. She's trying to starve us out, Donna, Katie said, pacing Donna's newly relocated and surprisingly plush corner office. She's turning the executive team against you before you even sign your first expenditure report. She's making it personal. It's always personal with Brooke, Donna sighed, looking out at the city skyline. She believes this world belongs to her, Katie. Always has. Katie stopped pacing and looked directly at her sister. Then we hit her where she is weakest. Her past. Her reputation. A shadow crossed Donna's face. Katie, no. We don't do that. We are Logans. We don't air the dirty laundry. Already aired it, Katie countered bitterly. She aired mine when she continually went after Bill. Even when I was trying to save our marriage. She aired yours when she made you feel small and irrelevant for years while she was on her pedestal. This isn't dirty laundry, Donna. This is a truth bomb. We prove that Brooke Logan is not the infallible queen she pretends to be, and therefore, her judgment over the company is flawed. If she can't be trusted in her private life, how can she be trusted with a multi-million-dollar empire? And so, the first public strike of the Logan War was launched. A meticulously crafted, anonymous social media post appeared on an industry gossip site, focusing on Brooke's history of turbulent marriages, her affair with the dressmaker's son years ago, and most damagingly a thinly veiled yet easily recognizable reference to her infamous tryst with her daughter's husband, Deacon Sharp. The insinuation was clear. Brooke's personal history demonstrated a reckless lack of judgment that was unfit for corporate leadership. The backlash was immediate. The FC stock dropped 3 points in pre-market trading. The next confrontation happened not in the office, but in the palatial, sun-drenched living room of the Forrester mansion. Brooke confronted Katie, knowing instinctively who the saboteur was. You. Brooke hissed, cornering Katie near the portrait of Stephanie Forrester, an irony not lost on either sister. You leaked those stories. After everything we've been through, after all the times I have protected you, you betray me over a will. Katie's composure finally shattered, replaced by raw, years-old anguish. You protected me. You steamrolled me, Brooke. Every man, every opportunity, every spotlight always belonged to you. I was the consolation prize, the younger sister you allowed to occasionally play with your toys. You slept with my husband, Bill, not once, but repeatedly. And every time, I forgave you because you wrapped it up in the mantle of destiny and uncontrollable passion. Well, my destiny is control of my own life, and my passion is protecting Donna from your insatiable need for power. Bill was always drawn to me, Katie. That's my curse. Brooke cried out, tears of genuine fury and pain welling in her eyes. And Donna is naive. You are pushing her into a position she can't handle, and you are destroying our family for petty revenge. It's not revenge, it's balance, Katie choked out, her own eyes streaming. This time, Brooke, you don't win. You don't get to be the victim. You have to live with the consequences of your own destruction. And this time, the price is not just a broken heart. It's Forrester Creations. The argument was overheard by Hope, who had just returned from designing at her cottage. Hope was the true casualty of this war, caught in a crossfire where both sides had valid claims of pain and betrayal. Her mother was flawed but loved. Her aunts were right but ruthless. Hope made a desperate plea that evening, calling a meeting in a neutral location. The small, cozy Logan cabin that had once been a symbol of their unity. Mom, Aunt Katie, Aunt Donna, please. Stop this, Hope pleaded, her voice trembling. This isn't who we are. We are the Logan women. We stick together. This power struggle is feeding the Steffis and the Taylors of the world exactly what they want. They want to see us tear each other apart. We need to present a united front. Donna placed a comforting hand on Hope's arm. We are presenting a united front, Hope. It's Brooke who refuses to join it. She only understands control, not collaboration. Brooke's eyes narrowed at her daughter. And where is your loyalty, Hope? To the woman who raised you and made you who you are? Or to the aunt who has suddenly materialized with a hostile takeover disguised as a peace treaty? Hope stood up, the tension finally snapping. My loyalty is to the future of the company, Mom. And I see Katie and Donna trying to save it from your and Ridge's constant romantic melodrama. You are the source of the chaos, and until you accept that, I can't support you. Hope's defection was a blow Brooke hadn't anticipated. It was the moment Brooke realized this was not a simple spat, but a true internecine war. The climax occurred during the annual Forrester Creations Spring Showcase. The show was the company's biggest night, a display of power and creativity. Brooke had planned a dramatic entrance, a gown that symbolized her unwavering control and majesty. But Donna, as the majority shareholder, had other ideas. Moments before the show began, Donna entered the private dressing room where Brooke was preparing. She held a single, sealed envelope. What is this, Donna? A final surrender. Brooke scoffed, adjusting her diamond necklace. No, Brooke. It's your official notice, Donna said, her voice completely calm. I didn't want it to come to this, but you forced my hand. You sabotaged the stock, you poisoned the well with the design team, and you forced Hope to choose sides. As majority shareholder, I am exercising my right to restructure the company's leadership. Brooke tore open the envelope. It was a termination notice, effective immediately. Brooke Logan was fired from Forrester Creations. The blood drained from Brooke's face. You wouldn't dare. You can't. Ridge won't stand for this. Ridge is my honey bear, but he also respects Eric's wishes, and more importantly, he respects the law, Donna explained without malice. He tried to intervene, but I reminded him that if he violates the trust agreement, the entire company reverts to a blind public auction. He chose the company, and he chose peace. Brooke's roar was muffled by the thumping music outside. He chose you. He always comes back to me, Donna. I am his destiny. You are nothing. A sweet, irrelevant footnote in the Forrester saga. Maybe I was, Donna conceded, a single tear tracing a path through her makeup, but not anymore. You forced me to step out of your shadow, Brooke, and now you're in mine. The show began. Brooke watched helpless from the doorway as Donna took the stage alongside Ridge. Donna, in a simple but elegant cream dress, delivered the opening remarks. She spoke not of drama or destiny, but of sustainability, integrity, and a renewed focus on the Logan family heart. Katie watched from the wings, a mixture of triumph and sorrow washing over her. They had won the war, but they had lost their sister. The Logan Women War had erupted not in fire, but in a cold, corporate-sanctioned implosion. Brooke, standing alone outside the lights of the stage, was no longer the Queen of Forrester, but an outsider looking in. The war was over, but the peace was a fragile truce built on resentment. Brooke Logan's eyes hardened as she walked out into the Los Angeles night, a chilling promise forming on her lips. This isn't over. Destiny always finds a way. The Logan Women War had erupted not in fire, but in a cold, corporate-sanctioned implosion. Brooke, standing alone outside the lights of the stage, was no longer the Queen of Forrester, but an outsider looking in. As the show concluded and the applause swelled for the new Logan leadership, Brooke felt a chilling isolation. She hadn't just lost her job. She had lost her sisters, and, for the first time in her life, she felt truly alone. The war was over, but the peace was a fragile truce built on resentment. Brooke Logan's eyes hardened as she walked out into the Los Angeles night, a chilling promise forming on her lips. This isn't over. Destiny always inside the grand ballroom of the Bellwether Hotel was thick with the scent of lilies and old money. Chandeliers dripped crystallized light onto tables set with flawless white linens and blinding silverware. This was the annual fundraising gala for the Atherton Children's Trust. And the city's elite, those who built skylines and decided fates, were all present. Katie, draped in a midnight blue gown that seemed to absorb the light, stood near the edge of the room. She was watching Brooke. Brooke was a vision of effortless success in emerald green, standing beside the trust chairman, smiling and accepting praise. To the world, Brooke Atherton was a titan of ethical investment, a celebrated philanthropist, and Katie's former best friend, the one who had gracefully moved on while Katie's own career in architecture had imploded 3 years prior in a blaze of scandal and legal fees. For 3 years, Katie had lived in the shadow of that professional ruin, a quiet architect reduced to taking small, unglamorous contracts. She had lost her reputation, her firm, and nearly her entire life savings fighting the public perception that she had signed off on faulty building specifications. Specifications that, when they failed during a minor storm, cost millions and damaged the foundation of a historic city landmark. She had always known she was scapegoated, but the evidence that could clear her name had vanished, and the one person who knew the truth, Brooke, had said nothing. Tonight was not about fundraising. Tonight was the end of 3 years of silence. Brooke stepped onto the low stage, tapping the microphone lightly. "Thank you all for being here tonight," her voice, smooth as velvet, resonated through the speakers. "Every dollar raised goes directly to changing the lives of children in this city. It is a cause close to my heart and one I know my beloved father, who founded this trust, would be immensely proud of." As the applause swelled, Katie took a slow, deep breath, tasting the dust of 3 years of resentment. Her heart hammered a frantic rhythm against her ribs, a drumbeat of pure, focused intent. She adjusted the delicate silver locket around her neck. It wasn't a sentimental piece, but a device she'd spent months and the last of her disposable income on. It contained a single, damning piece of evidence, secured just 2 days ago through an obscure offshore data recovery specialist. Brooke continued, listing donors, her speech moving toward the standard triumphant conclusion. "And finally, I must thank my team and all the friends who have supported me in this journey. We are a community of integrity, commitment, and truth. The word truth was the trigger. Katie began to walk forward. She didn't run. She didn't rush. She walked with a deliberate, cold elegance that parted the crowd like water. Murmurs rippled through the guests. Is that Katie? Has she been invited? Brooke, catching sight of the approaching figure, faltered for the first time. Her perfect, philanthropic smile flickered, replaced by a momentary flash of fear that vanished almost instantly, hardened back into polished composure. Katie reached the foot of the stage just as Brooke was concluding. And with that, I encourage you all to raise your glasses to a brighter future, Brooke announced, holding up a crystal flute of champagne. Raise your glass to a lie, Brooke! Katie's voice cut across the room, amplified by a strange stillness that had fallen over the hundreds of attendees. The silence that followed was absolute, heavy enough to crack the glass in Brooke's hand. Every eye in the ballroom, senators, CEOs, media magnates, snapped from Brooke to Katie. Brooke lowered her flute slowly, maintaining a deceptive calm. Katie, she said, her voice dropping to a smooth, patronizing tone. It's kind of you to join us, but this is hardly the time for personal grievances. Katie stepped up onto the stage, ignoring the two large security guards who instantly moved toward her. She held up a hand, silencing them with a look more commanding than anything Brooke had ever mastered. A personal grievance. Katie scoffed, her voice low but carrying the cold resonance of steel. No, Brooke, this is a public necessity. This is about integrity. The same integrity you claim to hold so dear while standing on a platform built from my career's ashes. I think you've had too much champagne, darling, Brooke dismissed, turning to the chairman with an apologetic laugh. Security, please escort Ms. Davies out. But Katie didn't budge. She was focused entirely on Brooke. 3 years ago, a building on Water Street nearly collapsed. I was blamed. I was shamed. I was ruined for signing off on specifications I thought were correct. But you, Brooke, you knew they weren't just incorrect. You knew they were swapped, Katie asserted, her hands gripping the edges of the podium. You knew the moment your father's failing construction company realized they couldn't afford the premium alloy specified in the plans. A gasp went through the nearest table. The chairman's face, moments ago jovial, was now pale and frozen. Brooke met Katie's eyes, her own twin pools of ice. This is insane defamation, Katie. You signed the documents. You accepted liability. You are projecting your failure onto the successful people in this room. I signed the documents after you, as the project manager, assured me the procurement had been finalized. Katie shot back, the words perfectly articulated, devoid of hysterical emotion. You were managing the procurement process for your father's company to save his legacy. You found the discrepancy, and you found a cheaper, substandard material. But your signature alone wouldn't have been enough to cover the massive fraud. You needed the architect's sign-off. She paused, pulling the small silver locket off her neck. Her thumb pressed a tiny button. A soft, clear beep indicated the device was active. You came to my office at 2 a.m., crying, begging me to sign the final documents because you said your father was having a health crisis and you needed the papers settled immediately. You said they were identical copies of the approved specs. I was tired, I was trusting, and you were my best friend. I signed. And when the scandal broke, you let me take the fall, ensuring the fraudulent digital log that proved the material switch. Your log was deleted. To step toward the microphone, clearly intending to interrupt, to seize back control of the narrative. But Katie was faster. It took 3 years, but I found the backup file, Katie stated, holding the locket up like a small, dangerous weapon. It was stored on a secure server you thought you decommissioned, deep in the archives of a defunct subsidiary. A file that proves you manually edited the alloy code from Titanmax to Zinc-Lite, and then deleted the original digital log. A projector screen, previously showing a slideshow of happy, smiling children, suddenly went dark. Then it flashed to life, displaying a simple spreadsheet. The file name was procurement_log_final_15_2022.xls. The date was exactly 1 day before Katie had signed the final specs. The highlighted cell glowed red, showing a single, recorded keystroke history. Time, user ID, action, value, 6:15:23 hours, 51 minutes and 2 seconds. B. Atherton. Edit. Material type, zinc light. 6:15:23 hours, 51 minutes and 15 seconds. B. Atherton. Delete. Original audit trail. The user ID, B. Atherton, hung in the air, damning and undeniable. Brooke's composure shattered. Her eyes, usually so confident, were wide and desperate. She reached out, trying to snatch the locket, trying to stop the broadcast, but Katie pulled back. "The Bellwether Gala, Brooke," Katie murmured, her voice laced with triumph and sorrow. "The place where your father built his reputation on charity. The place where you come every year to pretend you're something you're not. It's the perfect setting for the truth." The room erupted. Guests were on their feet, some whispering frantically into phones, others staring at the screen in disbelief. The chairman was shouting into his earpiece. "You'll regret this, Katie. You have no idea the power you're challenging." Brooke finally spat, her philanthropist mask completely discarded, revealing the cold, cornered predator beneath. "I have nothing left to lose, Brooke," Katie replied simply. "You took it all 3 years ago. The only power I need is the truth." Security finally surged forward, not just for Katie, but for the stage itself. The screen went dark as someone physically unplugged the projection unit. But it was too late. Hundreds of people had seen the log. Hundreds had heard the accusation. As the guards escorted Katie away, she looked over her shoulder one last time. Brooke stood alone in the center of the stage, her emerald dress suddenly looking like the vestments of a witch. She was surrounded by the chaos she had just created, clutching her champagne flute like a drowning woman clinging to driftwood. Outside, the cool night air hit Katie's face. She wasn't arrested. The document she presented was proof, not a crime in itself. She was simply removed from the premises. She walked toward the valet stand where a small, unassuming black car waited for her. The driver, the data specialist who had found the file, nodded at her. "It's already viral, Ms. Davies. The log file and a transcription of your speech hit all the major news desks simultaneously with the projection. We even captured a photo of her face when the spreadsheet went up." Katie nodded, sinking into the back seat. She didn't feel the triumphant relief she thought she would. She only felt tired, hollowed out by the expenditure of 3 years' worth of bottled-up pain. She reached into her small clutch and pulled out her phone. The screen was already flooded with notifications. The shocking news was already everywhere. Katie blames Brooke. Documents leak at Bellwether Gala prove corporate fraud and cover-up. The story was over, but the war had just begun. Brooke Atherton, the celebrated Golden Girl, was now facing down the barrel of a multi-million-dollar lawsuit and an inevitable criminal investigation. And Katie, the disgraced architect, was finally, painfully, free of the lie that had shackled her. The liberation was cold, but it was real. She closed her eyes, ready for the storm the next morning would bring. She had blamed Brooke, and the world was finally listening.